Hi, my friends, and welcome back to Straight Talk in Room 503. I am your host, Marsh Merriweather, also the author of Enough is Enough, which is a book on the failure of the public education system. This class session, we want to do something a little bit different. We want to take it in a different direction. I want to talk with you very briefly about the right foundation. I truly believe with all my heart that we have built public education on the wrong foundation. What I mean by that is that we started out many, many years ago, perhaps before a lot of us was born, making a difference in a child. This child is different from this child because of who his parents are, his background, where he came from, his nationality. That's wrong. God said in his word that he made us all in his image. That means we are all of God's image and we're all equal, whether we like it or not. Then we should have built public education to make sure that every boy and every girl receive the same education. That we made sure that the best principals, the best boards, the best teachers, the best support staff was there for all the children, giving everybody an equal chance in a public education that is better than anything that we can think of. But I'm reminded of the man that built his house on a rock, and one built his house on the sand. And you know the story because we have all heard it many times before. The storms of life will come just like the storms of life in public education has come. And when the storm came, the man that built his house on sand got washed away, it's said. Then the man who built his house on the rock, a solid rock is the solid foundation, then it still stands. Let's substitute that foundation to be the foundation of God, that he wants every boy and girl to be treated right. That's the golden rule. That's the commandment. Love thy neighbor as thyself. Then everybody's child is important. We're struggling with public education. We're struggling in my hometown with the buildings that are in areas where minorities go to. They don't look as well as the magnet schools, the academies. They're different. And God is looking down at all this, and he's not pleased. And we're wondering where there's so many people that are turning the wrong way. There's violence, turning to drugs, and no one's safe in their home. Perhaps it's those same people who set this public education system not on a rock, but on sand. And now we don't like what we see because it's parts of the foundation is running past us in the flood. We got to change that, ladies and gentlemen. I come to you week after week, encouraging you, asking you to join me, attend the board meeting, speak out, do editorial, call the superintendent, call the board members, and let's make sure that every boy and girl get the quality education. Please join me in the second session. We're going to take this even further. Join me. Now, ladies and gentlemen, the clock on the wall says time to wrap this session of Straight Talking Room 503 up. I want to deal with this last session in talking about the way we look at things. We got to look at things differently. What I mean by that, when it comes to public education, if we are to truly change public education, we're going to have to make sure that we don't look at it like we looked at it last year or the year before that, but that we look at it differently. When we look at things differently, we see things in a different perspective. We can't operate public education and have classrooms and hire teachers and superintendents just like we did with when our parents was in school. Time has changed. People have changed. But hearts must change in order that we do the right thing for every boy and girl. I just truly believe that God is going to, when he sees us one by one, we all going to appear before him. He's going to want to know from you and you and you and I, what did you do to improve public education? I'm going to tell him, Lord, I did the best I could. I treated everybody right. When I was principal at the school, I made sure that every child was treated the same. I didn't treat one different because one was white and one was black, or one lived on this side of the track and one lived on that side of the track. No one can say nothing, but he treated everybody the same. I'm going to tell him that I had a talk show, and you know about that talk show. It was Straight Talk in Room 503. And we encouraged people and left them with tools to do the best that they can, that every boy and girl will get a quality education. Question is, what will you be able to say? Are you going to make excuses? I didn't go to the board meeting because of this. I didn't have any students in school. I don't think he's going to want to hear that. But until we begin to look at things in a different way, then we can be successful because, let me read this for you. In order to have success at changing anything, you've got to look at the situation differently. If you look at it differently, you'll come up with a different solution. I think public education is failing because we're doing the same old thing, and then we're getting upset because we're getting the same results. That does not make any sense. Now, let me say this as we get ready to get out of here. I think that you have to use whatever you got, and then God will multiply what you have. We can sit here every week, every month, and complain about we don't have this and we don't have what private schools have. No, we don't. But the same teachers who are in private schools came out of public school but had an opportunity to go over there because of circumstances. Some of them never did show up in public school because they didn't want to teach certain kids. They wanted to go and teach other kids. Ladies and gentlemen, I continually say in Straight Talk in Room 503 that is wrong. Now, let me go to my last point and let me biblical roll out of here and leave you with a question. Corinthians, the 2nd chapter, 5 and 3 says this. Therefore, if any man be in Christ Jesus, he is a new creature. One more time. Therefore, if any man be in Christ Jesus, he is a new creature. Let's wrap this session up and talk about, as we go out, this new creature. When you become a part of God's team, you are a new creature. In public education, we need some new creatures to lead us to where we need to be. So ask yourself, am I a new creature? Or am I an old wretched creature I used to be, and I'm pretending to be a Christian and I'm not? But if you truly are a Christian, every Christian should care about every boy and girl getting a quality education. Ladies and gentlemen, the clock on the wall says it's time for us to get out of here. I will be back next week and we'll talk about some nuts and bolts. But this week I have to appeal to your conscience with some biblical thoughts and hope that you will take hold of that and say, it's time that I do something. Whether I have a child in public education or not, we're all God's children and all of us are precious in God's sight. And Mr. Merriweather, as professor of Straight Talk in Room 503, you pierce my heart because you use God's own word. And I'm going to get up and do something about public education to make sure that I leave this world better than I found it. I leave this world with every boy and girl receiving the education they should. I hope that you do that. And if you don't, Lord have mercy on your soul. Ladies and gentlemen, I am Marsh Merriweather, the author of Enough is Enough. If you haven't had the opportunity to purchase the book, go to my website, www.marshmerriweather.com, and get you a copy. We go further into the failure of public education, offer some solution, and talk about some of the problems. But if not, join me again. Call a friend and tell a friend. Every Tuesday, he's on YouTube, he's on Facebook, and he's on his website, www.marshmerriweather.com, and he's dealing with public education. He shouldn't have to go it alone because I care too. If you care, continue to join me. And to those of you who are joining me, send in your comments. I appreciate your comments. If you have any questions that you'd like for me to respond to, also you can do it by emailing me at mars649@gmail.com or askmarsnow@gmail.com, or go to my website and leave your questions there or your comments. I'll be sure to respond to you. Thank you again, and I look forward to seeing you next week in Straight Talk in Room 503. You join me.